Hey guys, Bowie here, and this is Things I've Learned with EG.Arteezy's Drow Ranger. Drow is one of those heroes that apparently is never balanced enough for Ice Frog, and thus, she got changed once again. What you need to understand about Drow nowadays is that she's way less of an aura bitch than she was. While she did get nerfed a little bit, she feels like a way better hero by itself, and I think that's what Ice Frog wants. In this game, for instance, Arteezy has only ranged supports, and he was one of the last picks. So it's not a particularly great Drow game when you think in those terms. There were quite a few changes to Drow Ranger, and one of the most interesting ones is the substitution of the aura for the ability multi-shot. Now that the aura doesn't exist, it suddenly becomes a good level 1 point because the other level 1 abilities of Drow are all trash besides this one. It might look underwhelming at first glance, but watch how Arteezy can get his range CS here. Drow's biggest weakness was always the lack of AoE and also poor laning stage, and I think this ability solves it all. The cooldown is low enough that you can get CS every wave, and it's also a great way to harass and kill units like Beastmaster's Boar. When Snapfire pulls here, watch how Arteezy tries to mitigate the huge wave pushing with the ability as well. Even the slow for multi-shot helps you last hit on your tower without taking so much damage because the creeps are not going to be hitting you that fast. That said, the ability is prohibitive mana-wise, so make sure to fare some mangoes during the laning state when you can, so that you can keep the pressure in the lane. Arteezy constantly used multi-shot to clear the Beastmaster Boar and get the range creep, so he was rarely punishing lane and suddenly he was 2 levels ahead of him. Lane-wise, I think this change makes Drow a way better hero and her win rate agrees, but let's keep watching. Watch this play for instance. Arteezy gets a kill on the puck and then he hits a tango to get out while he plants a tree to escape the Beastmaster. Really cool. A big change in how Drow Ranger is played now is that you don't want to TP to the triangle as soon as you get level 6. You don't want shot creeps anymore, and while your E helps you farm, you're actually not trashing lane anymore. You might think that not farming like crazy is a nerf, but as I always say in the channel, you're as strong as the enemy is strong, so pressuring the lane is not bad, it's actually what you want. Farming like crazy always came at the expense that your enemy offlaner was having a free game, and in this patch, Drow would suck ass if she was betting lane. One big change to note is Arteezy going Basi. The item only gives stats and mana regen now, not necessarily what you would expect to be a good item in the hero, but as we talked about, most of your farm and harass comes from E, so you need to be able to hand the ability mana-wise, and it's a pretty decent item. Watch how the playstyle is different too. Drow sees his mid in trouble and TPs to help and get a kill. Old Drow would rarely even care about it, so if you're an OG Drow spammer, prepare for some paradigm shifts on how you play her. Just watch Arteezy posturing when Puck shows in lane. Even though Puck is ultra mobile, you have to remember that multi-shot has the range set to double of your attack range, meaning you can chase people way further than you would think, and that by itself forces a mid TP as he gets out. Eventually Radiant engages on Arthur, but look how the hero feels better. He manages to assist easily from the area, and while he dies, the trade was clearly on Dire's favor. Worth noting that he maxed Frost arrows, it's great in team fights, and while I know you guys love to think about farming, this patch is definitely not about that, and he puts the arrows into play when this outpost battle starts at 10 minutes. Because the slow from multi-shot already lasts so much, it actually lasts more than the normal slow from your arrows. I really like the idea of maxing Q in this game, especially because he's fighting a lot. Arteezy starts farming after the outpost battle, but his team quickly smokes. They know no chrono is available, and Bane has Fiend's Grip, so they want to punish that as much as possible. Drow is clearly worse at pushing than before, but because she can fight so easily, this kill quickly becomes a tower for them. Just watch how the mindset is completely different with Drow. Arteezy, instead of farming after acquiring an objective, TPs to the tier 2 to maybe defend the tier 1, and while they don't, Tiny debates a fight. Look at his clicking pattern, he goes all the way around the trees to get a good silence multi-shot, not only buying time for the Tiny, but turning the fight around completely. Dragonlance was always core on Drow, and with the way multi-shot works, it's clearly one of the core items on the hero. While you might think that this hero doesn't farm as fast, and you're kinda right, the introduction of outposts gives Drow level 13 at 14 minutes, which is still amazing. This is another rotation Arthur goes for when his TP gets back, and it's a good one. You always want to be active at 14 minutes. As soon as Fiend's Grip get used, instant TP, kills, let's secure the outpost. With Drow being a more active hero, Shadowblade seems pretty good. It's not necessarily an item I would call core on her, but against heroes like Puck and Void that rely on scapes, you can punish them with a Shadowblade, whilst forcing early BKB on TA and Void. Look how Gunner explodes. That rotation forces a Void buyback and they have to leave the pit after it. I don't have to explain that Groove Bow is core on Drow, so make sure to steal it from your support Crystal Maiden if she finds one and just play aggressive with it. This is the fight that wins Dire the game. Remember, Void has no buyback, and he starts playing really aggressive while Arthur goes bottom, but leaves his illusions around. Because he does that, he scouts the Radiant, was trying to use Void as a distraction for Roshan. And as the fight breaks out with no chrono, he TPs to 8. Gunnar somehow steals the Aegis, but ends up not mattering because Arthur saves the silence for his second life, using multi-shot later to kite him. Arteezy just kept playing really aggressive. They don't have the Aegis here, and Drow doesn't push nearly as fast as she used to, and the tower is shielded while Void pushes. So as soon as there's no target, and since it's nighttime, he knows he's not showing and tries to TP and get Void, and gets it probably 1 second before Void decides to stop hitting the tower, and TA just gives up after this. Let's watch another game. This time Arthur is playing versus Omni Knight. One thing to mention when you want to secure CS in lane with multi-shot is to avoid aiming for the range creep if that's not the creep that you want, because he will be in deny range when you're level 1. So let's recap everything we talked about. Make sure to secure range creeps with multi-shot when you think walking to it is dangerous. Harass offlaners when you can hit both of them, but avoid also hitting the range creep while you're doing it, if the range creep is full HP, so you don't lose experience in the lane. Look how much Harass Arteezy can output here without hitting the range creep. The old Drow will never come close to what he's doing. Before this patch, Drow was never a hero that could stand her ground against this amount of slow from 2 bulky heroes. Not only Arthur stands his ground, but he zooms them away, whereas in the last patch, he would have to get boots, play like a little bitch, and just TP to the triangle level 6. He's actually pressuring this lane, and obviously, remember to fair yourself a couple of mangoes in the process. He kinda plays like a little bitch here when he spends multi-shot, so always be careful about how you use it, because it's both an aggressive and defensive ability in some lanes. Whenever you use your multi-shot, be also aware of how close the enemy is to you, because what Omni does here puts you in a pretty dangerous position while you're also not doing damage. But because Willow rotate, they get the kill nonetheless. Eventually the lane starts to become really hard because Omni's sustain is high and Arthur leaves the lane. And in the Radiant side, you do have access to Ancients pretty close to you, so he stacks it, but note, and this is really important, that his Disruptor is bottom getting experience and the pushing the wave. Doing this at the expense of losing your tower is not worth it, and good players will also try and hunt you if you just leave the lane like that, so the Disruptor is there to maybe scout when people leave the lane. Also, Arthur thread switches when he's farming this, and while it reduces the damage slightly, it greatly increases how many multi-shots you can output. Another thing worth mentioning is that the animation of multi-shot is slightly misleading. See how Arthur doesn't clear the wave? Always try to position slightly closer to the creeps than you think you have to, and watch your angle when using it. You'll get the hang of it quite fast. One cool thing about the new Drow is that you rarely feel forced into learning silence early. Your multi-shot works quite similar to how your silence used to work. It creates kind of a safe zone between you and the enemies, but it also deals damage and it's a farming ability, so you're obviously gonna learn this first. In this game and the last one, Arteezy gets silenced after level 9 in both games, so just for you to have an idea. Just look at this fight. Drow would never be able to be this impactful this casually. Arthur rotates for a fight top eventually, and that's one thing you have to keep in mind. This hero is really good at fighting now, and you have to use it, or else you're just gonna lose. Instead of the Shadowblade this game, Arteezy gets a Manta. You could give the argument that Shadowblade is really good too, since it's a way to kill the Slark without him using Dark Pact, but you have a ton of saves, you'd never know where the Trin's gonna be, so Manta is great. BKB is also an option, but you farm way faster with Yasha, so only rush BKB in games that you feel awful. This is a very interesting game item-wise. Against Slark plus TA, 2 mobile heroes, a 4-staff is not necessarily going to save him. We already discussed the theme of standing your ground more as Drow Ranger, so it makes perfect sense because you can still use multi-shot while ghosted, so you can deal damage while someone cannot deal damage to you. Usually these close gappers are all physical damage dealers. E-Blade was not that weird of an item on Drow, but it suddenly becomes quite better since the Ghost Scepter by itself has value for Drow in some games, and it only gets better as you get to level 25, reduce your cooldowns. It's amazing. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching, commenting, and subscribing. There's not gonna be a lot of videos this week. I ended up casting a random tournament called XBAT something, and this means I'm gonna be busy until Sunday. I'm gonna try and upload a couple of videos here and there. I know I promise videos every day, but this is not gonna be possible just because I'm spending like 9 to 10 hours casting. Thanks for watching. If you guys want to check where I am, you can go to the Epols Twitch channel. And I guess that's it. Thank you very much and bye.